All right, we're
So
ready
we
to go.
are, okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome to Preserving Family Memories. My name is Mabel Menard, and I am the president of OCA Greater Chicago, a local chapter of OCA Asian Pacific American Advocates, a nonprofit organization founded in 1973 and headquartered in Washington, D.C. OCA's mission is to advance the social, political, and economic well-being of Asian Pacific Americans in the United States. The Greater Chicago chapter focuses on professional and leadership development and is dedicated to promoting the economic, professional, and social well-being of AAPIs in the Greater Chicago area. With me is Amelia Lin, founder and CEO of Saga, a mobile app for recording and preserving family stories, to talk about her motivation for starting the company for her own mother and father, Amy and Lisan, to record and share their stories. By the way, today is Lisan's 67th birthday, and he is with us tonight. So happy birthday, Lisan, and I'm so glad you can join us to talk about your experience with the app. We will have a Q&A after the presentation, so please stick around. Before I hand this over to Amelia, I'd like to acknowledge our co-host for this evening, Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community, also known as CBCAC, and the Chinese American Museum of Chicago. And with that, we're gonna get started. So Amelia, I have a first question for you. How did Saga get started, and what prompted you to create an app for your family?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So Saga comes from a really personal place for me. And by the way, sorry, I just muted myself by accident. I was going to say thank you so much for just inviting me to come tonight. So I started Saga for my own parents, for my own dad and mom, who, as Mabel mentioned, are here tonight. So that means a lot to me. I had, well, so both of them grew up during the Chinese Cultural Revolution. They lived through a lot in their lives. And they used to tell these really incredible stories, to me and my sister when we were growing up. And it became increasingly important to me over time that we find some way of saving these, not just for me, but for, my kids someday and their kids and so on and so forth. I always kind of imagined having that saved. And so, I always kind of wanted to find a way to make it really easy for them, first of all. Two, I wanted it to be something that would feel like a fun thing that we could do together instead of like a really big chore. And third, I want it to be something we could use from anywhere because I'm out here in California. My mom and dad are still in Texas, and then my sister's in Texas, but she lives in another location. So it was really important to me that we come up with something that we could use from anywhere. And so from that very initial kind of family project, I had worked in technology prior to that for many years. And so I really thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And I remember 2 years ago is when we started just recording, some of my some of the stories from my dad, and from that, it's grown all the way today to Sagas. We're a venture capital backed social app for family, and we help people save family memories on voice. So yeah, this is something that was just like really, really near and dear to my heart. As a daughter of Chinese immigrants, this means a ton to me to be able to share our journey today of where this comes from, like why I built this for our family, and to share it with the community.
Great, because so this started as really a family project, but now that you've made it available to the public, how have you promoted your app?
Yeah, we've been so fortunate. We've been really lucky for we just released the app earlier this year for free, actually during COVID, and just to help families connect from anywhere. Really, I think while families are separated, especially during this time. And we've been very, very lucky. We've been featured in some really fantastic publications. So we've been featured in USA Today. We've been featured by Harvard Business School. We've been featured in Forbes. So this little kind of this little thing that kind of really started from my mom and dad has really taken on a life of its own. And we're also pretty lucky that a lot of, probably most of the time, people actually hear about us through word of mouth. So they hear about us from friends or family members who have invited them to come and check out the app. So yeah, I'm really excited to just like share a little bit more about our journey. I'll explain a little bit how it works in case people are, I want to use it, especially this holiday season. And then to answer questions that people might have, especially because this is a pretty special talk for us, as my mom and dad were actually able to join.
So what are some of the challenges, if any, that you have encountered?
Yeah, definitely quite a few. Would it be helpful if I share a little bit of an overview of the app, and then I think we can also kind of come back to, there's like a lot of discussion that I think we can dig into.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, cool. I'll do a quick like intro for background, and then yeah, again, if if people have questions already, like please feel free to drop them in the chat, and it'll be a great time to use all that for Q&A at the end. Cool. So again, just I'm the founder of Saga. We're an app to help families save family memories in their voice. And as Mabel described, I created Saga to save my own family story, and that's really kind of where this came from. So very, very, very personal. My dad and my mom, who are in the audience today, I'm just like so excited that they could join, especially as it is my dad's birthday today, turning 67. It was something that it was really important to me to find a way to honor and to save their immigrant journey and everything that they had gone through, to have that kind of saved for our family forever, and really kind of in their voice, from their experience. So about 2 years ago, I started this project with my mom and my dad to start recording some of these memories. And so this is like an example of some of the kinds of recordings that we started to gather. We recorded a lot about their experience growing up during the Chinese Cultural Revolution, but also kind of smaller and more intimate moments too. So I remember I asked my dad, what was it like, first seeing your child? And I'll play like a sample. This is one of my favorite recordings from him from that time.
Amelia arrived, and it was our first girl. And when I look at that very tiny baby, I was very, very, I don't know, I was so nervous. I don't know. You were so careful to touch. You were so careful to hold. You were so careful. It was just this very small life that you helped to create in your hand.
So these are the kinds of recordings, I think, that we were able to kind of have saved. And thank you. Oh, thank you. I see that Mabel just posted in the chat sort of a link to, if you want to go check out the app yourself, it's totally free on iOS. And so, yeah, if you want to go check it out yourself, that would be amazing. But so that family project really grew into what today is like a full-blown app. So with many families kind of from everywhere that have used the app, which is just so exciting for our small little team. And I'll explain a little bit about how it works, kind of what it's grown into. So basically, you choose from, where the app will kind of suggest questions, these kind of question prompts like, hey, who was your best friend growing up? How did you meet them? And then your family together, you can record your answers either with the app, or we actually try to make it really easy for anybody to record even without the app, even by dialing a special phone number. So you can do it without a smartphone, without the app. You can even do it from a landline. Or if you want to make it even easier for your family, you can actually call them through the app, and have that saved. And then you all get each other's recordings, and you can like comment and react on each other's recordings. It's kind of like getting your own personal private podcast from your family. And then you have this collection that you like have built up and is saved, forever for you all. So that's how the app works today. And we've just been super lucky. We've only been out for a few months. We released during COVID, but just really grateful for everybody who's backed us. And shout out to Kimiko in the audience from Japanese American Memorial Pilgrimages. Like, you all have been fantastic, and we're just like really excited to have been invited to speak at this today for the broader kind of Asian American community. But yeah, we've been lucky to be featured by the ARP and USA Today and places like that. And I will also mention here, especially if there are people in the audience today that are kind of representatives, or if you're associated with other nonprofits or places that are looking to capture these memories, that we also have a partner program. This is actually how we've worked with organizations like Japanese American Memorial Pilgrimages in the past, where you can actually create branded custom questions for your members, for your community, and we will actually promote you in the app to our user base to say, this is a great set of questions that you can go and use with your family or other loved ones who are close to you. So that's just like a little bit about that. Kind of concludes some of the background that I wanted to share about us. Again, the app is free. You can find an easy link to it at trysaga.com. If you want to reach out to me directly about anything here, I've just gone ahead and shared my direct email. It's just amelia@trysaga.com. And I believe that Mabel has also posted more information in the chat as well. But so that it's been an amazing journey for us, I think, as an immigrant family, to go from not only having lived through everything that I think my parents have lived through and the things that they've passed down to me and my sister when we were kids, but have that turn into a saga, and for that to have led all the way to be able to share our journey with you today. So I think with that, Mabel, I think we can definitely switch over to the Q&A. If you have questions for us, and this is a special occasion because my mom and dad are actually joined. So I'm going to invite them to be part of the Q&A as well. I think you had asked before, what are some of the challenges that we faced? We could go back and dig into that. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, yeah, cool. I think that, so I think the question of like, what were some of the challenges that we faced? We really started very scrappy. So, even though we're a full-blown app now, I'll tell you the way that we started out was I was calling people's families on the phone and interviewing them, and then sending them the recordings. So we started very scrappy. It was something that I think definitely came from a place of just like really strong like personal interest and passion. And I think one of the things that really captured, my imagination in the early days was hearing back from families what it was like to hear some of these stories from people's moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, things they never knew. People think they know. I thought I'd heard every one of my dad's stories. I thought I'd heard them all 100 times. And I still learn all sorts of things that I never knew from from the recordings that he shared and from the new ones that he shares. And so I think that's been really amazing to realize that this was not just about saving and preserving, but also about connecting and growing closer with the people who, you know, or who mean the most to you.
You mentioned earlier, because I got connected to you through Kimiko, and I know the Japanese American Pilgrimage organization has been using it. Are you aware of other organizations that's using it to collect stories?
Yeah, so we have a couple of other partners that we're working with that we're pretty excited about. So one of the packs that we're actually going to be releasing at the holidays is going to be partnered with, I don't think they made it public yet, so I don't think I'm allowed to share maybe quite yet. But I do think that there's something really powerful, I think, about communities of people sort of sharing shared experiences that they've lived with. And one of the things that I think has been so cool about working with Japanese American Memorial Pilgrimages for their channel was really hearing how grateful I think people were to have been asked to share their perspectives and the things they had lived through, and that this was a shared experience that so many people had gone through together, living through incarceration as a Japanese American community in World War II. Oh yeah, and we're also working with, and you know, that collaboration has led to working with places like the National Park Service and the Pearl Harbor Memorial group to find even more ways of just lifting up and kind of elevating, I think, voices and stories from different communities.
Yeah, we have a comment from Caillou in the chat. Think Chinatown in Manhattan has a storytelling program. And one of the things that
Oh,
I'm
wow.
aware of is a lot of community and cultural museums are collecting stories, but everybody is using a different platform or using a different way to collect those stories. And it sounds like when you have an app, it would make it easier to share, because you don't have to worry about, like, well, what are you using? Are you recording it on your phone and then downloading it to the computer? Do you have a program that can allow you to share those stories? So it's a little bit different than what a lot of, for example, museums are doing. I know there are some that are collecting them through their website with
Right.
objects and stuff, but this is more personal stories.
That's right. And I think also what we've seen in the past from museums is it can be a pretty heavyweight process where, you know, they'll sort of like hire people to bring audio equipment and like fly it out and have, you know, professional interview, and can be really quite this laborious process that takes months. And then those recordings, you know, sometimes will get stored away in you know, some vault somewhere, and they're really not very accessible or easily shared. And I think that you know, what I really wanted to do was to make this just really, really easy for anybody, you know, everyday people anywhere to do, and to have it be something that was very, very easy to use. Yeah. One of the things.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, what's up?
All right. How you doing, Mabel? Haven't seen you in a while.
Good.
Good. That's very good. This is very interesting. I'm wondering if you're connecting with any genealogy sort of efforts with people. Now that they're sharing their stories, they might find relatives, long lost relatives, that kind of thing. Is that something that could be part of your program?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. And if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what kind of sparks your interest in Saga? Is it genealogy?
Well, I'm currently hosting a weekly radio show with my 93-year-old mom. And
Wow.
yeah, Yeah, and and what's kind of fun about that is we're getting all of mom's stories, recorded and out there so that other people can, listen to aspects of growing up in America through her 93 years. She was born in 1927, and there's a lot of people that don't have access to a mother, or father, or grandma, or a grandfather to ask those kind of questions, or to maybe, ask their opinion of something about their life. Their boyfriend doesn't open the door for them, and it's like, what are they going to do? Mom will say, how old are you? Get a new boyfriend. Things like this. I'm simplifying it a little bit, but what's kind of neat for me is I have the ability to share my 93-year-old mom with anybody that's tuning in on the radio show, and they could submit
That is so
questions.
cool.
Yeah, and they could submit questions about love, life, happiness, whatever, and we'll try to answer it on the show. And we're having all kind of fun, and this kind of just started because I happened to run into a guy looking for some new program ideas for 216 internet radio program out of Wakanda. And we've been doing this for about 2.5 months. I think we're on our 20th show now. It's a half-hour show, radio show that airs on 216 The Net on Wednesdays at noon. And I have a website and all that stuff where you can go to the other shows. And I actually have a site. It's a red site in China. So, it's like Yahoo, or it's like YouTube in China, because, they have no access to Facebook and YouTube. And we have a couple of programs on there that we did some translating with subtitles in,
Oh my gosh, wow.
easy basic Chinese or Mandarin. Yeah. So we're kind of toying around with the idea of letting other people listen to mom, and it's just kind of fun. So
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. I have a question too.
Yeah.
Is this a good
great.
time for my
Okay.
question?
Please. Yes, absolutely. Please.
We'll cue them
So-
up, and then we'll.
Yeah. So my question, wow, I'm so impressed with the radio program with your mom, because my mom is 90, and I was just thinking I would like to capture some of her storytelling. She was a teacher, and she was doing storytelling in her classroom. And I did a couple of recordings in my living room of her telling some stories that she had written.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you about Saga. So let's say I do this and I grab my kids. I have, a handful of kids and 11 grandkids. And now that I started recording and I have things on Saga, where does that reside? Where do my
Right.
recordings live?
Right. Okay, great. Okay. And if I know other people might have questions too. This is all great. And I also see one we've got already in the chat. So keep throwing them at me. We'll start going through them. So I want to make sure that we get back. We do answer your question, Michael, about, hey, how does this work with like genealogy groups?
Sure.
So yes, we actually have worked pretty closely, I think, with quite a few people in genealogy in the past. And I would say it's definitely an area where we get a lot of interest. So we gave a talk at the California Genealogical Society not too long ago. And I think one of the things that's quite interesting about what we feel like we bring to the table for genealogy is, sites like Ancestry or 23andMe, I think today really focus a lot on kind of the facts and the figures of your family tree, where somebody was born, where somebody died, like who they were married to, their kids, like where they lived. And I think what sometimes is missing is what one genealogy friend of mine called the meat on the bones, and kind of these stories and these memories, which I think are so emotionally powerful, and in many ways I think are actually the biggest core of the legacy that we want to save and we want to pass on. There's not really like a great way to capture those things. Literally on Ancestry, if you want to upload like an audio recording, let's say that you want to upload one of the recordings that you've made with your mom, there's like not a way to do it. It doesn't even exist. Like you can't, the best that you could do is like attach a link or something, but you can't actually add some of these richer types of media. So yeah, I think we're interested in that. We're interested in like automated transcription and making it super easy for people to discover things in recordings that just make it really easily searchable and things like that. So yeah, we're very, very excited about all of that. Let me see. Is there anything that you want to go ahead? Yeah.
The question from the chat.
Oh, that would be so amazing. Yes.
So how would you say your app is similar to or different from the StoryCorps project? This is from Ivan.
Great question. Huge fan of StoryCorps and what they're doing. And early on, I would say the biggest way in which we're different from StoryCorps is the ability to create something really private for your family. So with StoryCorps, typically all recordings are default public. So any recording that is made with StoryCorps, either where, you know, if they come to your town and do live recordings, which they're probably not doing right now during COVID, but everything gets indexed publicly to the Library of Congress. So if there are, you know, just kind of things that you're maybe a little bit less, you want something that's a little bit more intimate, and I think that is very common for many families. It's not really kind of a great option there. It's not also really possible with StoryCorps to ask them and come to interview someone specifically that you have in mind. So that was actually something I looked into pretty early on. I remember was I asked, I said, well, what would it take for you to come out and, you know, do this for my family? And I think they said, you know, we don't really do that. You know, if you want to, we could try to do it cost I think like a couple $100s to get on the waiting list, and you know, maybe we can do it or not. And so it just felt like something that should be a lot easier. So I would say those are some of the bigger differences that we have with StoryCorps. The other thing that I guess I would say is that we have a bigger focus on trying to make it possible to record from anywhere. So with the StoryCorps, I think I have an app, and you need to be in person with the person that you are interviewing. You have to have the app open to record, versus I think we just offer a lot more flexibility there. People can record anytime on their own. They can dial into a phone number. You can like call them through the app. So it's just like a lot easier if you have far-flung family like mine to use.
But where does the recording go?
Yeah, so let's go to that question. Yeah, thanks, Seema. So the question is like, you know, where do these get saved? So they get saved in the app and sort of backed up on our cloud servers, but they're also downloadable from the app, and like so that so we don't lock you in if you want the raw audio files, so that you have them for your own records, which I think a lot of people like to have kind of just them saved in multiple places. You know, if you want to like keep that in your own, if you want to have backups of the raw audio files in your own Dropbox or attached to family records that you might have on like other websites, you can do that too. Hopefully that helps, Seema.
Yeah.
So,
it's very interesting.
Awesome.
What about video? Any video capabilities?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
It was something that we played around with early on, and the reason why we started with audio first was for that ease of use component. And the other thing that we found with audio that perhaps you may have actually seen on your radio show was we found that it removed a level of self-consciousness for people. So my mom, who's in the audience, she'll probably laugh, but I remember I remember we were experimenting with video recording early on, and she was like, no, like don't put the camera too close to me. You know, I don't know if like my, you know, I gotta put on my makeup, I gotta like sit further from the camera. Like we definitely found that video kind of had a higher level of self-consciousness. And we just wanted to make it really easy and comfortable for people to share.
I think
Great
one
question.
difference is, like you said, like StoryCorps default, it's public, and there are a lot of other projects that are very similar. I believe the Tenement Museum out in New York has a similar project where people can record personal stories, but with the understanding that it's going to be public. Whereas this is something that you can keep within just your family. Nobody else will have access to it unless, I suppose, if we make it a project like the Japanese American pilgrimage, where memorial pilgrimage, where it becomes more public because it is meant to be a documentation of some of the experiences. But if you're doing this as a project just for your family, it stays within the family, or at least it stays within the group that you allow access to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right.
So it's more private. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
I have a question for Michael, actually.
Oh.
So Michael, when you do this,
can you all see my mom? Look at my mom.
Yes, I was going to ask you if that was your mom. That's a beautiful snapshot.
That's
very, very nice. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Doing very good.
Parents and grandparents really deserve that. But my question is, are you interviewing her in person and recording it, or are you doing like a Zoom thing, or
No.
how's your radio program?
We do it. We record 30 minutes of a show at home on my cell phone. I use a special mic so that I get a little bit better audio, and I record and I pause, but I do not rewind and re-record. So what I try to do is I try to keep it sounding like a live radio program. So we'll do an introduction. It's called Mike and Fran Unrehearsed. Hey, here we are, episode 20. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. How was your holidays? Hey, let's talk about that, Mom. Well, we have a couple corrections from last week, and then we'll pick a little topic and we'll talk about that. Mom, you taught school. Did you prefer boys or girls? We have a question here, and sometimes we'll come up with a question just so that we can talk about something that we want to talk about, because we're not always getting, early on, we would get all kind of questions, and we encourage people to send in questions for Mom, and we'll try to answer those on the air. But these days we're sort of just kind of keeping topical, and then we'll come up with a question. Hey, Mom, how about this? And then we'll talk about it. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss, and then we'll record it, and then we'll stop, and then we'll go, okay, so we went in this one direction. Let's talk about that other topic that we were going to talk about next week, but let's talk about that now, so that's kind of how we've been doing it.
Very nice.
And, a little bit at a time, you wind up getting your half hour and you're good to go. But Mom has a lot of stories, like every mom and every family does. And she has a really good memory. When she was young, I guess she sort of had a photographic memory, but she could remember her grade school home economic teacher, her name, and how she did not know how to make a cake. And she made a really bad cake, and she made her walk around the school with this bad cake to show everybody that she could not cook very well.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
But these are like silly stories that moms have, and it's fun to talk about now. And these kind of things come out in our program, so we have all kind of fun with it. So we record it excuse me, typically on like Sunday night or Monday night, and then it goes up live on Wednesday at noon. And that's what we've been doing. So we record it at home, in a convenience of our home. I have a little guitar intro I do and a thing, and we're having, all kind of fun with it now. And it's just us. We thought about getting other people involved and having a live kind of streaming Q&A thing, but we're not quite there yet. So that's how we're doing it.
Congratulations.
I think what's amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
If you don't mind, could I post the website on here?
Yeah.
So
please do.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
Please do.
Actually,
we're here to share stories. So any way we can. And I'm going to read a comment from Ivan again. Connecting and sharing is easy with something that's so easy to use, especially with indigenous communities in the US and Latin America, would be great. Especially, and I totally agree that a lot of indigenous communities are losing their language and losing their stories because nobody's asking them, and they don't have a means to share them. So you started something really small, but there's just so much that you could be doing with this app.
Yeah, I would love that. Ivan, if you've got any hookups, to communities or organizations that are doing that, I would love to hear if you could drop me a line at my email or in the chat. I think one of the things that is very exciting about voice and kind of why we chose that as a place to start is it's universal. There's no translation. Like it's, we didn't have to, you can record in any language in the app, and we wanted to make that very, very easy. I also wanted to shout out just to Michael for sharing about his, just like, I think one of the things that's been so has been so astounding for us, and just kind of like all the families of using the app, is these stories are in every family. Like every single family has got those memories, and they are, and there's so much that like you don't even know until you ask. I'm gonna have to get in touch with you, Michael, to hear what some of the questions that you've gotten that you love, because I would love for us to feature those in the app. That could be so amazing.
Because this could be a lot of fun. I actually work with somebody that specializes in genealogy, and he's really good at what he does. And we could sort of have some conversations with him about, involving your program with what he does and things like that. I think this could be really fun to kind of work together.
Oh, please drop your contact information in the chat, or drop me a line at ameliatrisaga.com. That's fantastic.
I will. Are you in Chicago?
I am in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay. All right. That doesn't matter really, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Mike, are you in Chicago?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm in Barrington.
Oh, okay. I'm in the south suburbs.
Okay.
And thanks for sharing your website or your links.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about what happened with COVID-19 in their lives,
Yeah.
And with me, this whole show with Mom would never have happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for me being able to attend a Zoom call every Monday, because I normally used to go to this meeting, but I didn't go for a long time. And then I met this guy in May that was looking for some ideas. And I said, my mom and I have a special relationship. We kind of get along, like frickin' frack or whatever, and I recorded some of our conversations when I went to go pick up her medication and things like this, because I do that kind of thing for Mom. I'm an audio video guy. I got a lot of footage of her and things, and audio recordings of her. My dad's been gone for many, many years, so it's kind of like, I'm the oldest boy now, so I take care of Mom. That's the way it is. And he really liked our sort of banter, and then that's where Mike and Fran Unrehearsed came from. And we might even be doing a half-hour video show on a network coming up sometime soon. So we're talking about maybe expanding it to, using our audio recordings and making videos out of those. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'll let you know. Amelia, it's great to meet you, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Very excited.
Sounds like fun.
It's so funny because, like, I think what you've described is actually how some families have described using Saga too. Like it's exactly how people will describe it. Is they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've been using the app to create." Like I think of it as creating a family podcast. I record with my family members, and then we have my brother and my sister and cousins in the group, and so like they get to hear the episodes, and you get notified when there's new recordings, and it. So anyway, if what Mike is describing appeals to you, you can do it. You can do it yourself if you want. You try it.
You don't need
it's so interesting.
You have Saga. You don't need a radio show.
Well, it can be used as a podcast anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really, really interesting.
So can we talk to your parents for a little bit?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. I
think we should switch gears and talk to your parents a little bit. So Lisan and Amy, what was it like for you when you first heard about there's this app that you can actually record your stories for your children and hopefully your grandchildren? I mean, what did you think?
Okay, so let me jump in here. So my name is Lisan, and as you know that I'm Amelia's father. So when Amelia first talked to us about doing some recording 2 years ago, as Amelia said it, at first it was video. So it became a little bit more quote unquote formal. So, you know, you have to set the things up, you have to make sure you got the mic, you get the camera and all those, and then try to do it. And then later, she was saying that most of people seem like I'm a lot more comfortable if we do it in audio. And that works out much better for me because it's more spontaneous and you can do it anytime. And, you know, the thing become a lot easier. So I kind of started with one story and then you followed by another and then followed by another. And pretty quickly, you know, it added up quite a bit of stories in my life. And these are the things that happened in the past that you were just basically too busy to think about, to reflect. And as Amelia initiated and asked for this, then we started going backward into to our life. And one thing that we learned dearly is that through the experience itself, then the kids know us as what we are really are, what we really are. You know, it's truly our life, and this is the best way that they could. We give them a way to understand us. You know, lots of people talk about generation gap, and especially we are the uh, first generation of immigrants in the U.S. And the kids all grew up here. So that's obviously is very, very different from their experience, especially during their childhood. Our experience was absolutely, I would say, day and night, you know, compared to theirs. Very, very different. And I give you I guess, a very top level and brief background on it is that I couldn't even go to school. You know, I was not even allowed to go to school when I was 12. So the kids in our family suddenly were not allowed to go to school. And that was one of the things I really, really wanted to do. And I was kept out of school for 12 years. When I got back to school, I was 24. Out of school at 12 and went back to school 24. And if this compared to what my children, their experience here in the US, that was very, very different, very, very different. So I feel very good about the you know, the questions that the kids have in mind, you know, to know about us, to know about our past and how we grew up and how we become where we are. And I thought that was a very good experience, very good experience.
We are just so appreciative that our kids, they want to know our past and they want to keep it too. And actually, through this experience, we got much closer too. We thought we were close, but now we are even closer by sharing our past. And then they would know that, wow, that's what you guys did when you were my age, you know.
Can I ask Kamiko? I don't want to put you on the spot, but what was it like for Japanese American Memorial Pilgrimage to use the app to collect stories as an organization?
We've had some challenges just in that everybody is incredibly shy and they just are like, I don't have anything interesting to say, or my stories aren't important. So, you know, but we have had quite a few recordings. We had one gentleman who actually recorded for 2 hours straight. That's Shig.
Nothing interesting.
So yeah, and you know what? And I listened to the whole thing, and he did tell really interesting stories that weren't just about camp. You know, like he talked about he apparently was there when the Golden Gate Bridge opened. Who knew? I don't know. So he started talking about that. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. So you just never know what you're going to get when people are recording. I definitely wish that more people would do it. But I think just with us, you know, in the Nikkei community, people are they're just quiet. They're, oh, I don't have anything to say. And so they're just being shy about it. But hopefully we can get more people to do recordings, because I think that you can really get very interesting conversations going, or just somebody talking, especially when they're just kind of stream of consciousness and then their mind just kind of goes wherever, and you never know what you're going to find. I think it's like, I really hope that more people use it, because it's great.
Thanks.
Mika's being
Amelia,
modest.
yeah, I know. Amelia,
I was gonna say that.
now that you've heard a lot of the stories from your parents, and I'm assuming from your siblings as well, was there anything surprising that you were not expecting at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say I'm actually really curious to hear your answers too to this one, Mom and Dad. But I think for me, certainly one of the first surprises was how much of what you shared with me was actually stuff I didn't know. Again, I really thought, you know, oh, I've heard the stories like 100 times, but some of the memories, like Dad, that you shared of your own father, like things that you remembered about your own parents, Mom, some of the memories that you shared about, I mean, like you had this crazy story that you shared about like a time in your childhood when you guys had so little that you were eating algae. And I was like, what? I have never heard this. You know, I mean, again, it was like, I thought I knew everything. So I think, and that's pretty consistent, I would say, with like what kind of what we hear from families who use the app, is just that, like, you know, you will just be surprised by how much new you're actually learning about these people who you thought you knew everything about. So yeah, that's my answer.
From the parents' perspective, sometimes you think, oh, I don't have anything to say. No, but actually, when you sit down and when you recall, you do have a lot to tell, especially when you come to this age, you know. So I would encourage the parents to sit down, and it will be really interesting for your kids and your grandkids too.
I think what's also been really funny is we've seen families, for example, like I remember one of the like there's you know, one of the families I was talking to the other day, the husband will like record, and then like his wife will listen to the recordings too. So it's like, I mean, these people have been married for like how many years, right? But it's like they're learning even about each other, you know, through this process, and that is just like, it's really, really cool to see how people have used the app in different ways. I was going to say Kamiko's being modest, because that their organization holds the record for the longest recording, which is that one, over 2 hours. I'm telling you, no one has beat that record, a 2-hour recording. So anyway, she's being modest about how much they've actually collected. It's actually quite impressive.
I can't take credit for Shig. That's all Shig. That just happened to be the right guy.
That was incredible. Well, I know that we. Oh yeah.
Could I ask if are they recorded in Japanese or English, or is there any translation software involved for people? It's like subtitles, or how are you doing that? Is it all in English?
Maybe someday. So right now the audio recordings are just exactly how they're recorded. So if you're recording in English, you get it in English. Oh. If you're, so that is on our list to try someday. Is we would love to have some automated transcription, translation. That would be really, really incredible.
I might have somebody that can help you with that too. So let's talk about that.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, great.
Thank you.
One of the things I
right.
like is the fact that you can do it anytime, anywhere, obviously. But the thing is, like, anytime. So, if, like me, if you wake up at 3 in the morning and all of a sudden you feel like you should do a recording, you can, because you don't have to schedule it with anyone.
That's right. And I'd also say kind of like one of the more common things that people find valuable about the app is that, like, especially right now when when family is just far flung, right? Like we're in different time zones, people are in different places. And so it can be really hard, I think, right now for people to get everyone onto a call together. Even a scheduled call together, I think it is a little bit tougher right now than it normally is. And so just the flexibility of everybody being able to go on their own schedule, but you can all listen to each other's messages and connect over them and like leave the comments and react. And like, I don't know, I remember I was talking to a man the other day where he says, he's like, hey, I go to sleep at night, and when I wake up in the morning, I've got new Saga recordings from my sisters, and I listen to them before I go to work, just like a morning podcast. And kind of the ease of use there, I think, has been really valuable for families during this time. So I know we're probably coming up to the end of time. Mabel, should I go ahead and kind of wrap up and let people know,
yeah, please,
how they can reach out? And
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So again, this has been just like super exciting for us, and like it just means so much to us to have everybody who's come today. Again, this is like a really personal thing for us as a family, and the first time really that all three of us have been at an event like this, sort of sharing our journey. But we would love, we're actually going to be releasing a special edition kind of holiday pack of questions to help families connect from anywhere this year during the holiday season, as people are separated by COVID. So if you or if you know of any organizations whose members might be interested or benefit from that, again, the app is just totally free, and we would love to have you guys try it out. I would love to hear what people think of the app. Super open to suggestions or questions or feedback. Please reach out. Please stay in touch. Again, and just like, thank you so much for the time, and thank you, Mabel, for inviting us tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And I already posted Amelia's email address and the link to the website and the link to the app. It's only on Apple right now, but I believe that you are looking into getting it for the Droid eventually, right?
We're working on it. Yep.
What about the BlackBerry?
Yeah, we're really excited about that.
Oh, a Windows phone.
We'll get to those.
Do people even use them?
I know, right?
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Kamiko, because without Kamiko, we wouldn't be here tonight. Kamiko was the one who connected me to Amelia, and when we first talked, we didn't really know what we wanted to do. But then since OCA does a lot of public programs like this, I thought, why don't we do a presentation and make it available to the public? And that way, more people can hear about it rather than just the two of us talking. And this is being recorded, and it will be posted to our YouTube channel, and by proxy, it will be on our Facebook and our Twitter and all social medias. That way, even for people who are not attending tonight, they can still watch and listen, and hopefully they will get something out of this and try it at least, right? And hopefully we can make it so that people are connecting to their families and their friends and share those stories. Like I think one of the reasons I asked that the questions, that are there anything surprising that you weren't expecting, was like, sometimes you don't know. I mean, what your parents were up to when they were our age, right? So thank you, Amelia. I had a great time. Thank you for making this app, because like you said, one thing is it needs to be easy for people to use, especially if we're talking about having your parents or your grandparents. You don't want to have technology be a stumbling block for them. And the fact that you can do it from your phone, you can do it from a phone call, you can do it on the website, it just makes it so much easier.
Thank you so much. Again, just really appreciate everybody coming tonight. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for being here. And again, happy birthday to Lisan. Woohoo!
Well, thank you. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening, and hopefully
you,
you start
Emily.
sharing stories.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
bye.
Nice
All
to
right,
meet you.
bye.
Yeah.
guys, have a
Thank
good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we'll talk.